Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Friends&Pals Podcast. Today, we are going to be going over a watching of Death Note, but it's going to be a little different than just that. This is the first anime that I have ever watched, like personally ever. It's going to be like we're watching the episode, me and Alex here, who has seen it a couple times, and we're going to go and have a conversation about it. Without further ado, I'm going to take it over to Alex.
Yeah, like Tristan said, I've seen Death Note before. I've seen it. This is my third time watching through it with Tristan here. I've also read the manga for it. I won't say I'm a Death Note expert, but I've been around the block a couple times in terms of Death Note. I'm a big anime watcher, big manga reader. Love both of the media. But for Tristan, this is his first kind of dip into the anime territory. And so we thought it'd be kind of interesting if we kind of documented that kind of first step into this type of media. So we've started a watch of Death Note. We're on episode 9. Or we just watched episode 9. We're on episode 10 now. And so we're kind of doing like a progress report, kind of check-in kind of thing on the first 9 episodes, because Death Note is a pretty hefty one. A lot happens in every single episode, and there is never a point where you have a firm grasp of what's going on. So we're going to start off with a recap on episode 1 of Death Note. So episode 1 was kind of just the brief introduction into the life of Death Note. You kind of saw that scene in the very beginning of Light going to school. He seems kind of bored. Then the Death Note drops from the sky, and he picks it up. Doesn't seem like he's going to pick it up at first, but he picks it up. He takes it home. He tests it out, and he meets Ryuk, the Shinigami, who explains the Death Note to him and explains the rules of it. And Light does kind of a little bit of tinkering with it. He first of all tests whether he can actually kill people with it on 2 people that are that do minor crimes. He tests it on that one dude who is harassing the woman outside the convenience store. He tests it, actually his first test is on the hostage situation. He sees it on TV that there's this dude who is holding people hostage in this school. And that is his first test of the Death Note, is when he tested on people, on the dude who is doing the hostage situation. So you meet Ryuk, and then this is kind of when you kind of dive into a lot of Light's mindset too, because this is the first time that he mentions he wants to eradicate evil with this Death Note, and he wants to be the god of the new world by eradicating evil. So that is pretty much what happens in the first episode. It's a little bit less heavy of an episode than I remember. I think it ended with Light kind of fully really kind of realizing, like, I want to be a god of the new world. And that's the kind of the first time that you kind of realize, hey, I might not be watching the protagonist here.
The brief point that I wanted to touch on with the first episode is literally just 2 of the things that you said. Is the main things that I noticed was just how quickly he went to I'm the god of thing. Like, I mean, he was very quickly whatever, but it was also it definitely lets you know right away that, like, it was not the point of view of a typical protagonist. Like, Light has some shit going on, and he is unfortunately been given something that, again, another thing is, I think it also starts to give you a touch of his intelligence, of just how, like, actually smart he really is. And it just sets up a horrid concoction to come for the next couple episodes.
Yeah, and that horrid concoction kind of comes up a little bit more in episode 2, because in episode 2 you meet L, who is by and large one of my favorite characters of all time. I've always loved L. The first time I watched this, I was like 14, and I immediately fell in love with L. I was a little bit more on the emo side of things than I am now, but, like, still love L. He's a smart motherfucker. He knows what he's talking about. And so you meet L, and you see that Interpol is kind of talking about what to do, because they've started to notice that criminals are dying rapidly. Like, there's a lot of heart attacks going on. And
tested it out on a lot of people in the first episode, all things considering.
Yeah. I think they mention in like episode 2 that this is the first time humans use the Death Note so extensively. Because like I think it might have been even in the first episode where Ryuk mentions that it's rare for a human to use it to such a degree because usually they get scared and they drop it. But anyways, so you get an introduction to L here. He doesn't show his face. He displays the letter L on the projector and talks to Interpol, and he's like, I would like to investigate this. I think that these killings are wrong. And this is also the first time that a big twist kind of comes in with how Light and L interact, because this is also the episode that L put the criminal on full blast on TV. This is the one that he put Lind L. Taylor up there. This is... Yeah, that just proves to you how much happens every single episode, because this was the episode that he put the criminal Lind L. Taylor on TV, specifically in the Kanto region. But Light didn't know that. Light thought, 1, Lind L. Taylor was L, and 2, he thought that it was a worldwide broadcast. So he killed Lind L. Taylor, but that was his first mistake, because L immediately picked up on it, and he was like, 1, now I know where you live. And 2, that wasn't actually me. I'm still hunting you down.
This, for me, I didn't realize this happened so early, but now, like, this for me was the perfect introduction into a comparison I'll probably keep making, and I think I made while we were watching it. But for me, this was the introduction of Sherlock and Moriarty, but we're watching Moriarty. And then, but like, Sherlock had his time to shine in this episode as L. L made me realize, like, in his introduction to this episode, how much this was literally going to be a game of, like, cat and mouse. How much they were each going to be on each other's tail because they're fucking intelligent and they're outsmarting each other. Like, I realized in this episode how intense this show was actually going to be each episode.
Yeah, and it gets crazier from there on because, like, you can tell that they're both special individuals at this point. They both are very, very smart. You don't get kind of that like idea of just exactly how smart they are until later on, but you can tell from the beginning that Light and L are 2 of the smartest people alive.
They're cut from the same cloth, like, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
They're cut from the opposite ends, I guess, because they're like the antithesis of each other.
They say later on that they're so similar but so different. I think that's so accurate.
Yes. I think the message that I also have, I mean, I guess maybe this will go in later, I can say this, but what I was thinking that is like L is what Light could be if he used his powers or used his intelligence for good, and like vice versa. Like they are like literally like the opposites of each other.
Exactly. Like L is very much the good detective, the one who wants to serve justice. And what makes it such an interesting dichotomy is that Light wants to serve justice. Light believes he's serving justice fully. But his problem is that he's killing everybody who does wrong. And the morality of it really comes into question a lot. I remember you brought that up a lot when we were watching it. Because it's the morality of it. You're killing everybody who has done wrong, killing everybody who's evil, quote unquote. But is that right? Is that just? Is that justice to kill everyone who's doing wrong?
I think my opinion, I don't know if I'll bring this up a little bit later, but I think my opinion on L, or on Light, sorry, not L. I have to be very particular with my wording here. I think that his intentions of doing good are degrading in each episode. And that it's not just becoming something that's like an act of good. I think it's becoming bit by bit a bit more of a self-preservation act than it is like a good deed.
It's absolutely degrading as time goes on. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but with episode 3, this was when you saw another stroke of genius from L. Because this is the episode that they looked at the time frames. They said most of the killings are done, I think, between 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. And they said that the killings mostly go from like 2 p.m. to 1 p.m., with the majority happening between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. So L immediately is like, this person's a student. And this person also, he mentions, has a naive concept of justice. Already you can kind of tell L is a cut above the rest. Like, he looks at the times and he's like, this person is in school most of the day. They're not doing the killings that time. He also starts to get the idea that Light might be connected to the police in some way, just because he seems to have information on the investigation. And the reason why he comes up with this is because the second that L proposes that Light might be or that Kira might be a student, Light switches it up. And he immediately starts writing in the death note the times of deaths and starts having a death at every hour of the day. From 1 a.m. to 11 p.m., there is a death every hour. And so Light immediately just kind of flips a switch and switches it up at the drop of a dime. And L takes this as a challenge. And the episode ended with Light realizing that he was being followed by someone. And I believe the episode actually specifically ended with Ryuk offering the Shinigami eyes to Light, which would cut his lifespan in half. But he would be able to see the name and the lifespan of whoever was following, and everyone.
I was fully hooked I shouldn't say fully hooked, but I was like really ready to go on this episode in the first two. But even just the ending of this third episode, it was amazing. The fucking detective episode starts an arc later on that I fucking I'll say more later, but this arc was heartbreaking to me, but amazing.
All right. So with episode 4, Light rejects the Shinigami eyes offer. He says no. He says, if I accept this offer, I'm cutting my lifespan in half, and I intend to rule as the god of this new world for as long as humanly possible. So he rejects it. And he has another idea for how exactly to find out who this person is that's following him. So he starts playing around. He starts killing criminals in really intricate ways. He makes one person draw a pentagram, he makes another person write a dying message, and he makes the third person escape prison and go to the employee bathroom before he dies. This is all a test for Light because he wants to see just how much he can control people before they die. Because his plan is put into motion immediately. He has the wanted criminal who just robbed a bank hijack a bus that he is on with his shadow behind him. When this person hijacks the bus, he manages to convince Ray Penber, the FBI agent, to show him his FBI ID. And that is all Light needs. So Light gets Ray Penber's ID. The bank robber gets hit by a car and dies afterwards, which makes it seem more like an accident because at this point in time, all they know is that Kira can kill using heart attacks. They don't look at other deaths. And this is also the start of something that seemed really important because Light was playing with L. Light was giving L information, or at least so we thought. He made the criminal write a dying message that spelled at the top, L, do you know? And L latched onto this. L was like, he's trying to tell me something. But what exactly he's trying to tell L does not come up until later.
Right off the bat, I was a little confused. And I don't know if this was just me or if this was maybe intentionally the way of the episode. But when Light meets up with a date at the bus stop, I didn't quite understand how this was playing out at first until the moment on the bus where I saw the officer or the detective or whatever the hell like sit behind him. I was like, oh, fuck, he's going to somehow get the information out. The question is, how the hell is he going to do it? And then when the fucking guy came on board and started hijacking the bus, I was still confused, but I knew this was part of the plan somehow. And I was trying to like piece together how everything was going to happen. And then, like you said, the moment where he literally is just like, how can I trust you? I need some identification to know if you're actually whatever. As soon as he handed that fucking piece of paper or his identification over, I was like, holy shit, that guy is going to die. and it's going to be sad.
So yeah, I think 3 really, really interesting things to take away from this episode is 1, he used the Death Note in a very interesting way to make the bank robber see Ryuk. And that's what made the bank robber panic and made him finally, like, made the FBI agent finally just, like, trust him. The second thing that I found really interesting was it is gut-wrenching because the FBI agent said that this was going to be the last day that he investigated Light, but Light had no idea. If the FBI agent had left just a day earlier, this never would have happened. And Light would have gotten off scot-free.
Yeah, those are 2 things I forgot to mention as well. The whole dropping the paper thing on the ground was a part of my confusion. I was like, what the hell is that? And as soon as he picked it up and saw him, I remembered, like, not only do they mention it, I'm pretty sure, but they show it to you in the text, like, in between cutscenes, where it's like, anybody who touches the Death Note, whatever. And I was like, oh, fuck! He just made this guy feel like he's going insane. And then, yeah, the part about the guy saying it's the last day. To me, it was less about, like, if the cop had just left that day, if more so if Light had just waited a day to fucking, like, interact on something. He could have, like, I mean, I guess he ultimately, like, it worked out for Light, but even if he would have just maybe waited a day to act on this, everything would have just been a lot different.
All right, and then, so moving on to episode 5. This is the episode that Light tracks down Ray Penber, and he makes him, through threat of killing his family, he makes him write the names of all the FBI agents down on a piece of the Death Note. But Ray doesn't actually touch the Death Note. And I think that's what's genius about this. Light has cut out a piece of folder to only include spaces for Ray to write the names. So Ray never actually touches the Death Note. But Ray writes down every single FBI agent's name in the Death Note, killing all of his accomplices, and then afterwards, Light kills Ray. This started something. This was the beginning of L's full force investigation, because the FBI immediately pulled out. And the FBI immediately pulled out. The Japanese police were immediately suspicious because they had no idea the FBI were in Japan in the first place. And this is the first wave of when the Japanese police resigned from the case because they are fearful for their lives.
There's one thing, I again don't know if I need to include this here or somewhere else, but I think this is more of a question. Light doesn't know who this guy's family was, did he?
He did not. He had no idea.
I just wrote that down now and just came to that conclusion while you were talking, that he threatened the family. It's like,
he had no clue. Ray had the fiance. But he had no idea who Ray's family was. He just made a veiled threat and was very convincing about it, and Ray gave in. This is also the episode that leaves us with five Japanese police who are so adamant about their sense of justice that they will not leave it alone. Everyone else resigns, and we are left with Soichiro Yagami, Light's father.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't feel like we've brought that up yet, is that his father is the chief of police.
We have not brought that up, but that is how L is getting information, yes. Or Light is getting information. They are left with 5. So, episode 6, the Japanese police meet with L, who asks them to start calling him Ryuzaki. He meets with them, and while he is meeting with them, Light encounters a woman who introduces herself as Shoko Maki. And she says she has information about the Kira case. She tells Light that she believes that Kira can kill through methods other than heart attacks. This piece of information is a piece of information that Light deemed crucial. Because if they started to investigate other deaths that were not impacted by heart attacks, there's a potential that he could get caught. So to kind of cap off this whole arc, really, episode 7, Light writes Shokomaki on the Death Note, but nothing happens. And he notices that Ryuk has been laughing pretty maniacally the entire time. And he realizes she gave an alias. She gave him the wrong name. But he, being a master manipulator once again, manages to convince her that he is on the task force. He convinces her that he's working for Al. And he asks for a form of identification as a means to get her onto the task force. And she gives it to him. She gives him the identification, apologizes for giving him the wrong name, and says, my real name is Naomi Misora. And that is the final nail in her coffin. He has a habit, too, that becomes really apparent in this episode, where he reveals himself as Kira right before the people that he is about to kill die. He did it with Rei. He did it with Naomi. And both of them, he said, I'm Kira. And then she walked off and committed somewhere that we don't know. Her body has disappeared, as he wrote in the Death Note. This is also the episode that they give the task force some special equipment. They give them new phones. They give them fake police IDs, as well as the belts that can contact Watari at any time. But definitely the most interesting part of this is Naomi Misora and her tragic end, as she trusted the wrong person.
I will say this arc was so sad for me because the whole thing was with her is I thought since she had outsmarted him the first time that the reason why she did it was because she was suspicious. And so like I kind of thought she would make it a little farther. I guess it became a little bit more apparent when she was like going to go to the police right away and give them the information that like she really couldn't last that long. But god damn, I did not. And then, like the way that she went out, like she walked away all depressed, like oh my god, it was a deep scene for me. Like it was rough, but it was beautiful. It was confusing. It was just another testament, I guess, to fucking Kira, but in the wrong way or the right way, I guess. Like I don't know. That one left me fucking a little upset.
Yeah, it's gut-wrenching because not only have you seen Ray Penbear die for basically no reason, but now Naomi Misora has been taken down. She is no longer a factor. And the only person who had the suspicion that Kira could kill through other means than heart attacks is out of the picture. For now. Well, not Naomi Misora is out of the picture for good. The idea that Kira can kill by other means is out of the picture for now. And with that, we move into episode 8. Because Naomi Misora's death / disappearance, what they call it, because they can't find her body, has given L something else. He thinks it's weird that Naomi disappeared. He says there is no way that Naomi would disappear because he's worked with her before. He remembers just how fiery, just how dedicated she was. And he says there is no way that she would just give up after the death of your fiance. So he shortlists his suspects immediately. And he says there are 2 people who are being investigated at the time of Ray Penbear's death. He said there was Light Yagami and there was some other person. But Light Yagami is the one we're interested in because he's actually here. So he plants cameras and wiretaps in L's room. Not just L's room, but in the entire house of Soichi Origami. And this is where you see the true brilliance of Light. Because Light immediately realizes that there are cameras in his room. He notices. This is absolutely like, I think Light might have OCD. Because he not only, he had the paper in his door, but the paper was a red herring. Because he actually moves the handle down 5 millimeters and can somehow notice when the handle is not down.
Not even just that, but he had the piece of lead. Yeah, he had the lead as well. He had like 3 fail-safes for this fucking... Oh my god.
Yeah, he had the pencil lead, he had the piece of paper, and he had the door handle. The piece of paper was a red herring because he thought if he put the piece of paper in place, someone would replace it and not notice the rest. He guessed correctly because he was immediately able to realize that there were cameras in his room. He had Ryuk find all of them. And then you see a glimpse of just how horrifyingly brilliant Light is. Because the way he manages to evade this is by hiding a portable TV inside a bag of potato chips. And he kills 2 people. That was tough. He kills 2 people who appear to be insignificant, but who he could not have known about beforehand by watching a portable TV that can't even be seen on the camera. And he throws away the portable camera afterwards. And this is when L is like, okay, Light is in the clear for the most part.
He is not, yeah, he doesn't seem to be fully cleared by the episode. The only thing I really have to add to this part is how Light specifically got Ryuk, the Shinigami, to look for the cameras is by refusing him the ability to eat apples. And so he is forcing him to go through like a withdrawal of sorts, as the Shinigami describes it, from apples. And so he is he is manipulating the Shinigami to do his work for him in hopes for his apples.
And the thing is that Ryuk knows that he's being manipulated, but he thinks it's interesting.
Yeah. He plays along with it. He has no reason to, but he's along for the ride of chaos. That's the most interesting part about the Shinigami. I think he said it, right? He was bored and he wants to see some shit go down.
Yep, exactly. And this reminds me of 2 things that I forgot to mention earlier, actually, because I forget which episode they happen in. The first thing is that the message that Light was giving L was a red herring. The full message was, L, do you know Shinigami like apples? And he was playing with L. The second thing is his hiding of the Death Note is also the most intricate thing in the world. Because he puts the Death Note in a false bottom inside his drawer. But not just that. It has to be the lead of a pen. I don't even think that's the right term. But like the ink cartridge from a pen. Because the ink cartridge is made out of plastic and that is an insulator. It cuts the electrical circuit in there, inside the false bottom. And by doing that, he prevents the Death Note from combusting. But if somebody forces that false bottom open without using the pencil lead, the entire thing will combust. So you kind of see this maniacal, homicidal genius of Light coming out slowly but surely as he puts all of these plans into place that seem so diabolical, but god damn are they smart.
Yeah, that's the hardest part with fucking Light, dude, is that like his uses are starting to become diabolical, but you can't help but be amazed at the genius. But I also my closing sentence on this thing is I think this was also a very good, we're taking away from Light or L a little bit. I think this was also a very good episode to display how fucking intelligent L was with like narrowing down who the suspect was, putting the cameras in the house. The only thing is that he got impossibly fooled by a fucking potato chip bag, which is just something else. But like this was also a testament to, even though that he said like, oh, I think he's clear, maybe like he cleared him all right, but he never 100% took him off his list, which I think is just interesting.
The interesting thing that L says is that there is only a 10% chance that Light is Kira or someone in their family is Kira. But that 10% chance is enough for L to put the cameras in. And when they're cleared, there is a 5% chance that Light is Kira, but it is enough for Elle to take the next step.
Like, just thinking about it, a 5% chance on a tangible suspect versus a 0% chance on nobody. I mean,
they're good odds, and I think this also paints a very good picture of how meticulous and how smart Elle is. Because, for one, he makes the comment that it is weird that Light was cleared so quickly. It is so weird that on the first or second day that there are cameras in the room, Light is cleared. That is his first red flag. He said it is weird that all of a sudden they're in the clear. And I think the second thing he mentions is that when Light starts looking at the adult magazines that he has, Soichiro, Light's father, just goes, I can't believe he'd do that. That's probably why he was like trapping his room. But Elle says something very interesting. And Elle's reasoning for it is, no, this seems like something I would do as a way of casting off blame, in a way. Like, this seems like he's trying to prove, hey, this is why I'm trapping my room. It seems too obvious.
You put your porn stash out in the open so that your parents don't find your weed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, it seems too obvious to Elle. And those are two very important things that lead us into the next episode. Because in episode 9, Elle and Light meet. They both go to the college entrance exams, and Light notices a student sitting behind him who gets yelled at for sitting with his feet up on the chair, which is how Elle likes to sit. Then, at the the entrance ceremony, Light and Elle give the entrance speech together, and Elle is introducing himself as Hideki Ryuga. Not only that, but Elle approaches Light and wants to befriend him. He wants to be Light's friend. And there's a lot to unpack in this. Because it puts Light in a deadlock. Because at this point, Light cannot act. If he kills Elle, it is too soon after they've met for him to kill Elle. Because it would immediately cast blame on him. And not only that, but it is an obvious fake alias. And if he writes the name Hideki Ryuga in his death note, he will not be able to stop himself from thinking of the real Hideki Ryuga, who is shown to be a model and an actor. So the real Hideki Ryuga would almost definitely die. And that would also cast blame on Light. So Light, by a slight meeting, not even chance, but it's just a meeting with Elle. Elle has backed Light into such a corner that Light cannot do anything to get out of it.
This episode shocked the shit out of me. When we were only episode 9 in, and the fucking two of them met face to face, like, it said a lot to me about Elle. And Elle is ballsy, but he is so smart that it's almost not being ballsy. Like he knew what he was doing, but like he showed half of the problem of his face. Like, he still took a risk, even though he was using an alias. But just the way I think it was the first episode where you see like Kira or Light actually struggle for a little bit. Like, he actually, like you said, he's backed into a corner. He has no idea what the fuck to do. He has all of these things. If I don't kill him, it's a risk. If I do kill him, I'm going to get caught right away. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's the first time you see him panic a little bit. And that was weird to see, because he's always been so confident. Even with like the camera thing, he had a plan. Like, everything that's gone wrong for him, he's had a plan. This time, he was faced with something greater.
I will actually argue this is the second time that you see him panic. The first time was in episode 2 when he killed Lindell Taylor, and it wasn't the real one. And both times, and has been kind of a turning point because Light has made the decision, fine, let's play a game both times. Because he hates to lose, and both times he felt like he lost. But instead of taking that loss, he has turned it around and said, fine, I've lost the round, but I'll win the war.
Yeah, he declared a full war and is now, I mean, I guess it's implied, but heavily implied, that things are going to be escalating on Light/Kira's end from here on out.
All right, and that is about where we're at in Death Note. But okay, good to know. But all right, yeah, I think that pretty much caps off our discussion of the first 9 episodes of Death Note. I'm really excited for you to see the next sort of quarter of Death Note because it picks up a lot, and you think it's picked up now, and it just gets crazier as time goes on. And I'm very excited for you to see what happens next because I think that what you've seen so far does not even hold a candle to what the next couple episodes hold in store for you.
I think we're going to wrap it up here, everybody. That was all we had for now. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to give us a follow. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and maybe leave a comment down in below. Make sure to also check out our bio for our Instagram and other social medias, and we will see you guys in the next one.